Same quote says, every great moment of God can be traced to a kneeling figure. We too will bow our head to trace our Almighty's blessing with a prayer. O Lord, I arise and I share this day with you. I promise you for the light of dawn. I carry your hope of life within me, my Savior, my beloved Lord. A gracious good morning and my humble namaskars to all the dignitaries gathered here. It is my pleasure indeed to welcome you all for the second day of Faculty Development Program on Outcome-Based Education and Accreditation Processes organized by the Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Nehru Institute of Technology and Nehru Institute of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore. Today, we are having three sessions. The first session will be handled by Dr. B. Anirudhan Sir, Principal of Nehru Arts and Science College, about the topic Role of Pedagogical Tools for Effective Course Delivery. Second session will be handled by Dr. Kannan Sir, Professor and the Head of Electrical and Electronics Engineering of Nehru Institute of Engineering and Technology, about the topic Assessment Matrices versus Remedial Measures. Third session will be handled by Dr. Prashant R. Nair Sir, Professor of Computer Science and Engineering, Amrita School of Engineering, Amrita Vishwapeetham, Coimbatore, on the topic OBE curriculum mapping and attainment of COs, POs, PEOs, and rubrics. Once again, I welcome all the speakers and all the faculties who have gathered here. So let's start our session. A teacher is a compass that activates the magnet of courtesy, curiosity, knowledge, and wisdom. Before that, let me call upon Mrs. L. Nitya Ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, to give an introduction about Dr. B. Anirudhan Sir. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Nikhil. A very happy morning to one and all present here. It is my immense pleasure to give the introduction about the great personality, Dr. B. Anirudhan, Principal, Nehru Arts and Science College. So Dr. B. Anirudhan sir has 28 years of experience in teaching, research and administrations. He organized 1,700 conferences, seminars, webinars and workshops at national and international levels. He published more than 40 research articles and 5 books, and he organized and chaired international conferences in Malaysia, Bangkok, Dubai, Indonesia and Australia. He is the Best Coordinator Award for the winning team 6th National Youth Parliament Competition by Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, Honorable Minister, Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Government of India, on 17th February 2005 at New Delhi. And the college has got the 2F and 12B status of UGC, A grade by NAC, autonomous status, DBT, star status, and IEDC through his guidance. And he got various awards. He got Principal Award, Best Principal Award from International Institute of Education and Management, New Delhi in 2011. And he received a Rajiv Gandhi Education Excellence Award from International Institute of Education and Management in New Delhi in 2013. And he received peer team as a member coordinator for NAC since 2014. And he received Best Private Arts and Science College in Tamil Nadu Award, Worldwide Achievers Association in 2014, and also Indie Wood Educational Excellence Award from Indie Wood in 2018 and 2020. And he received Sri P.K. Das Lifetime Achievement Award from Nehru Group of Institutions in 2018. And the Best Production Unit Award he received from Nature Science Foundation in 2019. And he received Rashtriya Vibhushan Saman Purasakar with a gold medal, Association for Rising and Talented Personalities from New Delhi in 2019. And also he received Torch Bearer Award from India Dietetics Association in 2019. And he received Mentor Institution. He received certificate from Mahatma Gandhi National Council under the Ministry of Human Resource Development in Government of India, explanatory performance in campus water and sanitation management on 6/6/2020, and he received Best Principal Award in the year of 2020 by Nature Science Foundation, Coimbatore. He received the Certificate of Merit for Green Campus Audit directed by Nature Science Foundation on 7/2020, and also he received a Certificate of Merit for Eco Audit conducted by Nature Science Foundation, Coimbatore on 7/3/2020. And also he received a certificate of merit for hygiene audit conducted by Nature Science Foundation, Coimbatore on 7/3/2020. And also the institution as a mentor institution, and it recognized as a nodal center from IIT Spoken Tutorial. He received a special honor award received by Assisi Snehalaya Charitable Trust, Coimbatore for the year 2020. And he received Leadership Excellence Award in coordinating the International Student Exchange Program received by NAST Training and Consultancy, Malaysia for the year 2020. He received 3 patents from granted by Australian government, Intellectual Property India, and Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. And he conducted more than 300 workshops on areas like NAC accreditation, outcome-based education, mentoring, IEDC, hybrid education, new education policy, green audit, emotional intelligence, professional counseling, and transaction analysis, Enneagram, chakra cleansing and healing, and past life regression, etc. And also, he acted as a panelist in International Indivu 2018 in Hyderabad and EduTalk organized by IMRI in association of FSM of Aries Group of Companies Dubai on is hybrid education the future on 9/9/2020. And environment management system, green campus audit, energy audit, and hygiene audit to educational institutions and industrial sectors organized by the Nature Science Foundation. He completed the lead auditor course in this, and he visited a lot of countries like Australia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Indonesia, China, Dubai, and UAE. And also the initiatives for COVID-19 he has taken, that is like automatic hand sanitizing dispenser and preparation of mask from CDF department and preparation of sanitizer biotechnology department. Sir, we are very great honoring to have you for the session, for the resource person as the today's session, sir. We welcome you, sir.
Sir, very good morning. I join with the management and the organizing committee to welcome you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
morning,
Thank
all
you,
of you. Good morning, all of you. Am I audible properly? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Very much audible, please.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. At the outset, let me congratulate the heads of NIET and NIT for having thought of such a wonderful topic to deliberate on. Dr. Maniarison, Dr. Shivraj, and furthermore, Dr. Shaktivel as a coordinator. He has been continuously connecting me every day by sending messages and making calls to ensure that I will not run away. I am here. And Dr. Shubhasri yesterday, she was there in introduction, and Dr. Nitya today, who has introduced me. Thank you so much, everyone. And pedagogical tools for effective course delivery is the topic to be handled. I have already sent my PPT to you, and that PPT, whoever wants, you can share them. And I'm not going to depend on a PPT. Normally, I would love to handle sessions without PPT, and if it's very important, I will depend on PPT. Otherwise, I think it's okay. And I would like to talk for about 30-40 minutes only. And after that, it can go up to 2 hours if you want. Means that you have something to clarify. See, what I'm going to talk is nothing new to you or new to anybody who's in the academic realm. But maybe some practices that I have would be different than what you are doing. So that I think make more sense. So I would request all of you, if there is something to be discussed, I would be happy, not only related to the pedagogy, maybe anything related to higher education, any part of it, I think I would be glad to answer. But I will try to touch upon all these things, this pedagogy or the tools that is being used to deliver the content. See, engineering colleges in India, especially, than the arts and science colleges have come into the come under the umbrella of OBE earlier, much earlier than arts and science colleges came into. And arts and science colleges just now have thought of maybe maximum last 1 decade, I think even less than that. And we have been trying to get into Washington Accord, and we got into, and many of the institutions started going in for NBA kind of things. And now that the government of India has made it mandatory about, for outcome-based education and technology-driven teaching learning process, so hence all of us are aware of what is to be done. So as a teacher, I would like to ask 2 questions to myself. So when I say it's myself, it's applicable to all the teachers. And for that, we can use some technical terms as we use now, outcome. What is the outcome? So what is it the outcome that I want as a teacher? And what is it that the outcome I want my children to gain? So these 2 are the very pertinent questions. So within these questions, we are moving always. So is it justified that what is the outcome that I want? That I can decide my outcomes. Maybe my satisfaction, passing of all my students getting employed or becoming entrepreneurs or getting the program passed, whatever. We can list out outcomes. Same way we have to list out outcome, and these outcomes are much beyond the COs, POs and PEOs. What is it that as a teacher I want my children to get? Outcome number 1, 2, 3, 4. In that, when we look at the OBE, we say knowledge, skill, and maybe you call it as character or behavior, whatever. So to what extent we are able to instill certain characters, certain skills, certain quantifiable outcomes in our children. So this is much beyond the syllabus. That's why OBE, when we take up OBE, we can easily say knowledge comes from the classroom teaching, and we always this pedagogical kind of things all beat around that aspect of handling the theory and practical subjects, and more of theory subjects. And because practical subjects, we have the machines or other tools to have him exposure by doing it. So learning by doing comes there. So more of this tools into the pedagogy comes when we talk about subjects which are theoretical in nature. And at the present time, the number of new courses added to any program, AICTE and UGC, all the educational bodies or the NEP says that it should be more of practical oriented. Or any new course that you bring into any program should have either a skill component, quantifiable, verifiable, or a component of employment proficiency. It should drive him to get an employment, or the student should be able to look at entrepreneurship. So these 3 are the components that we think of bringing in as a new course. So hence the pedagogy need to be redesigned. Any kind of tool that we use to transact the syllabus need to be redesigned and redefined, especially in the context of the new education policy or the national education policy. And many a times now the higher education wizards, they say that the education should happen through experiential learning, through project-based learning, or through internship. That means learning should happen by doing it. Hence, learning by research also is promoted. When we used to use the word research initially to connect to PhD, research leading to award of PhD or sometimes MPhil as well. But then now from the college level, UG level, it should be like learn through and by research. Hence, there are research universities coming up in India, and DBT is spending a lot of money for promotion of research at UG level. That's what they are called as DBT Star Scheme. So our NAC is into DBT Star Scheme, and DBT spend a lot of money on that. They spent about half a crore every year to ensure that science is promoted in UG level, and there should be research happening with UG students. Same way TNSCST is giving projects funds for the student to the tune of 10,000, 15,000, 25,000. That's all to ensure that research is happening at the UG level, or learning happens through research at UG level. At the same time, we look at this IEDC also. A student without a research quotient or a capacity to innovate or a capacity to translate his thinking into a process or a product, then he cannot go in for a prototype, or he cannot submit a project. So that's why the pedagogy has to change. We used to think of the chalk and talk method. Even now, when you look at many tutorials or many MOOC courses, even from MIT, we are seeing senior professors using chalk and talk method. Nothing wrong about that. It's a wonderful method of transacting subjects, certain subjects. But then now the need of the hour is to learn the technology, understand the technology, and use the technology. Be it engineering, be it arts and science college, be it a job in the panchayat, or be it a job in the cabinet, it all requires a strong element of technological know-how. So that technology goes with this. So embracing technology is the only way out here hereafter. See, not because of COVID, but COVID has taught us a lot of new lessons into the teaching learning process and the technology that we use. Whatever we are doing now also, this kind of a method. It might, the situation might change, but then this kind of a platform hereafter we will continuously use. Not by the pressure, because of the pressure from the government or anybody. I don't know whether the government will take a right call on that, that here after hybrid learning can be a portion of it. But then we have decided in our college, like arts, having the autonomy, we thought certain subjects will deliver only through online mode. In spite of the colleges reopen in the full physical form, certain courses which need not have a deep level of learning or need not have anything seriously practical oriented, those kind of courses we have decided to converse using this platform. That directly means the teachers and students should have the knowledge of using any platforms. So while coming to the pedagogy, hereafter one of the most prominent tools are going to be using of this kind of a platform, be it Google Meet, be it GoToMeeting, be it WebEx, be it any kind of a platform. And definitely another 10 years we'll see in India, there will be a lot of infrastructural development in terms of usage of this technology. Certain times we have audio problem, we have visual problem. Two people simultaneously use the audio, there is a howling sound. All this technological hitches will go off. We'll be able to see all of us together in a bigger screen. There are 50 people or 100 people, all the 100, these small cubes that we see here, or the squares we see here, we'll be able to open up everything in, and then we'll not have any clarity problem. So that kind of a scenario is going to come. There'll be a lot of development in this area. So my request is that all the teachers and students should be able to now go with the technology. See, when we teach a portion, when we teach a course, or a child who's taking a program, sometimes he feel I have 12 papers to write. I can learn all my 12 papers in last 2 months of my academic year. He might do that. But then technology is not that way. Technology today, there is a technology, you have to learn the technology today and try to apply the technology, because after 1 year this technology might change. So go along with the technology for 2 reasons. One, you feel after the end of my academic year I'll learn this, you lose the basics of the technology. Every technology is built up on innovations. That means if you know the previous one only, it's easy for you to go. Sometimes there are new things also, absolutely new things are also coming up. But then if you have the knowledge of the technology which is continuously growing, it's always easy for us to adopt. So having said this, if as teachers we ask ourselves how many of us are very strong in using certain technology which is very important, an imperative part of the teaching learning process. If you ask how many of the teachers are very strong with Google Classrooms and related tools, there are a lot of tools which can be used in the classroom on a daily basis for transaction teaching learning process, be it online mode, be it offline mode, be it a physical classroom, or be it a different type of hybrid classroom, whatever. There are certain tools which we can easily use to transact. So how many of the teachers are well versed? So that is the only pertinent question. So there are 2-3 very important things. One, the curriculum or the content is fixed, it is designed. This is what you are supposed to teach for computer science engineering. Year 1 or SEM 1, SEM 2, these are the courses, these are the teachers going to handle that. This is all prefixed, very pakka. And 2 things are left. One, what is the content developed for delivery by a teacher? So I am teaching one subject, for example, C++. If I am teaching C++, I will prepare a content for me to be delivered with the syllabus or the content prescribed by the university as the background. So my content preparation and my delivery model sometimes will not be of the same as the other teacher does. So my content preparation for delivery and the tools that I use or the practices that I'm going to bring in to deliver the content makes a lot of sense, make a lot of difference. That's why in the current decade, we all talk about the teaching process has become learner-centric from teacher-centric. So syllabus is fixed. You have created a content also, that also it's almost fixed. And what is the delivery model? And in the delivery model, what is it that you look for as a teacher? Is it that I have completed my content, delivered everything, the portion is completed and there is an end card? So this subject or this course or this portion is complete, that so now it is your headache. Is it that we are going to look at? Or are we going to look at my content? I have delivered my content using different tools. How many of my children are able to understand? How many of them did learn that? So that's why it is learner centric, and learning what is learned has become imperative or most important than what is taught. Sometimes it becomes less important than what is taught. Even without you teach, when you go to hybrid model, we'll understand even without you teach, no, students will learn. So measuring what is taught is absolutely unimportant. but measuring what is learned has become most important. So whether learning happens when I write my outcome as a teacher, one of my outcomes must be the evaluation of learning quotient and whether the learning objectives are met. Let you use any kind of tool. And these days, again, if you quote NEP, so MOOCs have come into a big way. And in curriculum, MOOCs have come a compulsory part of the curriculum. So MOOC 4 credit MOOCs or 2 credit MOOCs or extra credit. MOOC has extra credit. You can go up to 10, 15, 20 extra credits using MOOCs, or you can use NPTEL or SWAYAM. Anyway, now NPTEL is also under SWAYAM. Use SWAYAM platform or any platform like WebEx, Coursera or Udacity, Udemy, and Unacademy. Lot of new vendors are coming up. You take any course from anybody, and that course you have acquired from any of such platform, that credit is transferred to the student in an ABC. ABC is an academic bank of credits. So ABC is a part of NEP, academic bank of credit. In that, see, if you have a bank account, money will be deposited into your bank. You can deposit your money, your friends, your salary can come, somebody from abroad can send you money, it's all your money. Same way, this is my curriculum in a broader perspective. This is my curriculum designed for 4 years or 3 years. I can earn credits from anywhere in this world. It can be in the form of micro credits or nano credits, whatever. And if I acquire that credit, whether it is from MIT or from NIET, I can take a course from NIET. For example, if Dr. Shaktivel's topic is there in my syllabus, I can sit at Shaktivel's class offline or online, gain the credit, and that credit has to be accepted throughout India. And for that credit which I have got from Dr. Shaktivel, I need not have to sit in the class of my teacher or my college. So this is a drastic change, a phenomenal thing. We have been talking about twin programs and a lot of things for the past 2 decades, but now it is coming to India as well in a very clear way, transparent way. So when we talk about all those things, what is the role of a teacher? Is the teacher is going to be a same kind of teacher, or the teacher is going to be a facilitator, a facilitator or a mentor? So teacher is going to be more of a facilitator or a mentor. So the learning is the job of the child. Prepare him to learn is going to be the order of the day hereafter. And most of the teachers, here I don't say teachers will lose the job, but a good number of teachers will go to the background work of education, that is the content creation, MOOCs creation, e-content. A lot of teachers will have, they are good at presentation, their language skill is very good, they have presence of mind, they have logic, they can create content. So many teachers will become content creators, which would be much preferred and much paid job in the coming minimum 2 decades will be for those kind of teachers who are capable of content creation. And when we talk about content creation or MOOCs, it does not mean that you have to create a MOOC which is pertaining to your syllabus alone. It can be anything. It can be anything. So that is how the government is trying to promote the use of technology, using the teachers in the right way. So when we talk about all those things, to what extent the pedagogy is important? And I feel the pedagogy, you can see there's nothing which is not possible by Google now. A lot of things are there. We used to talk about now a lot of small things which we can use into the classes like a Kahoot or Edpuzzle, Edmodo, lot of things. But now Google has come with a lot of new things. very updated and very easy to use. So how many of us are into that kind of a technology which can be used on a very easier mode and which can be very productive? All the students at the same time can take part. If you use Kahoot or a puzzle, or a lot of quizzes are happening, so it can be very easily done. So are we able to use that? It's not that we do not know the technology, but how many of the teachers are clear about how to get it done, and how do I go into it, and how I can become a smart teacher in that, how I can become very conversant, very strong in using that technology. That makes a lot of sense. And when we use that kind of a tool for our transaction, for the pedagogy, definitely the students will learn that. So teaching becomes more interesting. See, before the lockdown last year, there was a discussion between Nehru Group of institutions and Aries Group of companies in Dubai that the concept is they should be theater classrooms all over the world. Theater classroom. So theater classroom, the concept of theater classroom is, so many of you might have home theater at your place. There'll be a classroom set up with the same audio, visual effect and impact of a theater. Students will be sitting in that audio visual theater and learn. And for learning, like Shah Rukh Khan is coming into the advertisement, Vijay is coming into the advertisement, for Joy Alucas, Vijay is coming into the advertisement. Same way, Vijay or Shah Rukh Khan will come and initiate or introduce the subject and they'll go off. Then there will be content delivery with the same visual and audio effect in the classroom for 45 minutes. Last 15 minutes or 10 minutes, the students can ask questions online. So look at the impact of that. So just the favorite heroes, maybe not necessarily cinema heroes or film heroes. It can be heroes from football, cricket. Anybody can come, introduce the subject for 2 minutes and they push off, go to the back screen, and there'll be a teacher coming forward, or there'll be a voice of a teacher who's familiar to you, and there'll be contents. The contents will be coming as a movie. It can be a cartoon kind of movie. They can be cartoon characters. There can be a movie like Iron Man, like Iron Man. If I don't know whether how many of you have seen the movie, you see that, see, technology is overflowing there. We talk about artificial intelligence or robotics or quantum computing, all those things which has come into Disneyland or their movies and long back. It's a concept. So now those concepts have come into the picture. A teacher who was passed her BE or ME or PhD and done their PhD 10 years back, done their BE 15, 20 years back, what syllabus they have learned, what technical tools those teachers have used, and that you cannot say, I have learned my BE 10 years back, I have done my ME 15 years back, I don't know this technology. No way. So that is where this comes into picture. See, if you see the movies, English movies, and how easily they use quantum computing and how usually they use nanotechnology into making of garments. So that gives us a lot of edge that technology goes like this. So that kind of a learning, if happens in using the tools for transaction of content, I think things will change in a huge way. So my request to the teachers, especially who are supposed to be mapping the COs, POs, and up to the POs, and with the vision mission, and we have to prepare rubrics to map the teacher-student relation. In that, the mapping is between teacher-student relation, and the mapping is between the outcome that I want as a teacher and the outcome that I want my children to have as outcome. So that outcome should be mapped to each other. So we have to create rubrics to map these two things. Then the ends would meet. So otherwise, whatever tools we talk about, whatever methodology we talk about, whatever the quality of the content is very good, I don't think that is going to serve huge purpose. The purpose will be served only when we understand the child and teach to them to that level that he learns. It's not that we teach. See, I'm a doctorate. I means any teacher. I'm a doctorate. I have done my doctorate from IISc or IIT. I'm very strong in my subject. I was a scholar during my education. I got scholarships. So with that mindset, you teach a student who was just passed the +2 and come to your class, you are, or any teacher will be a fool. So teaching is an art where the mindset of the child is properly understood. The mindset of the teacher is absolutely not important. The knowledge level of a teacher is never very important when you talk to a student who is average or below average, especially from the context of our kind of colleges and teachers. Knowing the student is more important than teaching him. So know him and teach him. So the pedagogy, the tool that you can use to teach me, the same tool I don't think will match to a good number of other students. That's why we have to identify tools, because there are different types of learners: audio learners, visual learners, and kinesthetic learners, whatever. So are we trying to understand the children and teach them? And only when we try to understand the children and teach them, know the child and teach him, outcomes will become measurable, or the outcomes will become more realistic. So we'll try to measure, map, and show to NBA, NAC, and see that we are accredited. Issue is not that. Issue is what exactly is the learning happen to each children. Are we able to measure the learning standards of all the children? Probably NEP would bring in better rubrics and tools for that. And to make the classroom, especially if it is on a hybrid mode or a mode like this, a digital mode, we have to sometimes challenge the capacity of the student or make him interesting. See, now just imagine. See, I can see only my photo in the screen. All other my students, if I am a teacher, you are all my students. I can see all my students are MR, NN, S, SS, K, B, C. That's it. So who am I talking to? I am talking to a good number of rectangles, or sometimes triangle, or sometimes there should be a circle and one S is encircled. So am I talking to human beings? Am I talking to students? So what are my challenges when I use this mode? My challenges are, am I able to take them forward? Just imagine, in my place you are there, you are using this mode. How many of them or you might have switched on this and gone away? So this is exactly what is happening in the class also. He'll be physically present. So what are the tools that we can use to engage him? So engaging the student is something very important. How do we engage him? And to what extent we are able to explore the subject? To what depth we can go into the subject? That would make him engaged. That means we have to have a deep knowledge about the subject. See, when we teach about quantum computing or robotics or AI or IoT, what are the examples we are going to project to him than talking this is IoT? So what are the examples we will be able to show him or create a visual impact of that? So that makes a lot of important. That is the exploration to engage a student. And how are we going to expand his knowledge? The horizon of knowledge related to a particular course or a subject or a content, how are we going to expand the horizon of knowledge? For that, we have to do a lot of homework, and keeping those things into mind only, we have to create our content, which I was trying to tell you in the beginning. So we have to create that content. Then how are we going to elaborate on the application of any subject? How the subject is going to be applied? So his curiosity is always maintained by telling new things about the same course. Otherwise, the basics in hybrid learning, in OBE, the basics he'll know. He has to do some homework and come to the class for more of an elaboration, more of a discussion, more of a debate on the application side of it, or how do we innovate. Those things can come into classroom as a classroom discussion, so that make him closer to the subject, closer to the teacher. And how we evaluate the children. There are 50 in the class. How do we evaluate each of them based on the knowledge that he has gained, how he is able to apply it at different places, how he was able to go deep into the subjects, exploration subjects. Then we evaluate them and tell them, see, these 10 are the top people, and others have to improve upon certain small things, and you will also come to that level. And once we understand he is also coming to that level, we'll evaluate him and say that you all have come to that level of a knowledge. And you have to tell the student about the scope of the subject. So the extension of the knowledge, you tell them the scope. This is going to have a wide scope. You do the subject, you do this course, you do these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You experiment this, you explore this, you have a hands-on in this, you use this YouTube video, go to this site, go to MIT. MIT, they have a very good MOOC on this. And wonderful thing about MOOC is, for learning MOOCs, you need not have to pay. Only you have to pay if you want to get certified. Otherwise, getting knowledge. So those can be the reference points. So how many of the teachers are able to give such reference to the students? Go to this YouTube channel, explore this video, go to this Khan Academy, see this MOOC, explore the video, and come back and tell us tomorrow. So these kind of things, how many of us are able to take this as a challenge? So engage the students, explore the subject, expansion of the knowledge, and elaborate about the application of it, and again evaluating the students and telling them to the scope, extension of the subject, to what level it is having the scope in next 5 years or next 10 years. And with this, if you do this, the critical thinking, the thinking capacity of the students goes high, and he maintains a curiosity. What is my teacher going to tell next? Or what are the kind of video going to be played for me next? What are the kind of animation coming into us next? Or what are the new cartoon characters my teachers are going to? It's all embedding the subject to the length and breadth of the subject only. We are trying to sandwich all those things. So that is why I was telling about a theater classroom. You take a movie of Vijay, probably is a flop movie, but for the brand of Vijay, you will very carefully sit for 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes in the theater, and you will be able to revise later. Oh, these are the scenes, and you will at the same time you will talk about the songs, you will talk about the cinematography, you will talk about the camera work, you will talk about the lighting. Then you talk about the diction, vocabulary used by the hero and the villain. So all these things goes into your head. That means all your senses are sharpened and challenged. The curiosity is mean. That is how the video classroom or the theater classrooms are coming into picture. So we were also about to start a theater class in our new school, but then because of COVID it stopped. Again, it will come back. So we will have a theater kind of a classroom. And in a theater kind of classroom, what is that a teacher is going to do? A teacher will be only a facilitator, a content creator, an introductor, or sometimes there will be a voiceover. If there is 50 minutes video or 45 minutes video in a video classroom, a teacher will appear initial 5 minutes and last 5 minutes to introduce and to consolidate. So this is how the classes are going to change all over the world. So in this context, what is it that we have to think and learn as the tools for pedagogy? This is a very, very big question. And how many of us are going to embrace the technology and be abreast with the technology? And most importantly, we have to be very careful about the skill in communication. Be a content creator, be a teacher, anyone, your communication skill is going to be constantly improving. There are new terminologies coming up. When we talk about, see, probably 10 years back, we never thought of talking in the classroom about quantum computing or IoT or IoET or blockchain. We never used to use those terminology. Even hybrid learning, we never used to use the terminology in the classroom, regardless of the subject that we teach. So increasing the technical vocabulary, having your communication skill standardized, and coordination and collaboration with the teaching community or the stakeholders, and continuously working on the creativity of you. What is it that you will be able to do better than any other teacher? So that makes a lot of sense. So in that, the tools are now available for any kind of pedagogical tools are available in front of you. What is it that you are going to choose and apply? That is your skill. That's your creativity. And that's where you identify you as a distinct teacher. So this is what I just want to tell you in general related to how a pedagogical tool can make the course content or the delivery effective. It varies from teacher to teacher. Definitely, if a teacher who's very strong in their communication, in his content, nothing wrong if he uses chalk and talk. And chalk and talk, I think how many of you have been in the biology class of many teachers? And many teachers in the biology class use minimum 6 colors of chalks. So they create a visual effect. They draw beautiful pictures with wonderful visual effects. So that's like looking at a movie. So they use different color chalk, different type of shading that creates more of a visual impact. So that way, what is it that you are going to do as it? You can make your own tools. You can make your own models, present your models in the classroom. So a lot of things that can impact whether it is online or offline mode. So having said this, I would like to conclude by telling it has become definitely a learner-centric teaching learning process. The teacher as a facilitator, as a mentor, as a content creator, or as a friend, what is it that we are going to do? And one thing I would like to emphasize as a closing note, that every teacher should be able to jot down my outcomes as a teacher, quantifiable, measurable outcomes as a teacher, and the outcome that I want my children to pursue at the end of the day. These two are very important, and there should be a mapping. There should be rubrics created to map my outcomes are mapped with the outcome that I want my children to acquire or gain. So I think now it's open to all of you. You would like to ask or comment or anything. It's left to you now. So thank you so much, all of you, especially Dr. Shaktivel, for having continuously interacted with me till today morning. I feel that something would have come to you, which has got some novelty, then I'll feel myself grateful. So thank you all so much. Now you have questions, you can ask questions, or supplementing or commenting is all permitted. So thank you all so much. My pronouns.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Our participants are all so happy. They received a great ideas from you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Great thoughts you shared. Thank you very much for sharing your innovative ideas. I request all our valuable participants, you can interact with the sir and you can benefit, please. I request participants to discuss with the sir.
So good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. T.S. Sukanta, Professor KSR College of Technology, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, even though our ICT tools of education is available, but board and chalk is very, very highly interactive. What do you think about, sir?
It cannot be taken as a general term or general assumption. So there are teachers who are that's what my closing note was in that. There is a teacher who is very capable of making use of that blackboard or green board using chalk pieces, different colors, different shades. He can gain the attention or create curiosity in the student. Nothing wrong about that. Nothing wrong about it. But then certain subjects in the current scenario demands, for example, you teach aeronautical engineering, or you teach flying, or you teach medicine. Sometimes people go in for simulator model. So simulation has come into picture. Simulation is nothing but a video, or it's like a movie. It takes you in, so you are being with that. So there are certain subjects that we can use the technology in a better way, and technology can always be looked at as an enabler, a supporter, a friend. So if someone is very good at using chalk and talk in an innovative way, nothing wrong about it. It is no way it is going to replace a teacher. Technology will never replace a teacher, but then the role of the teachers will be defined different.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, you can unmute and please discuss with the sir.
You can unmute both your audio and visual, so that I'll feel I'm talking to a person directly.
True, sir. True, sir. It's actually a very good session. So actually excellent informations like that teacher-student relationship wanted to consider as one of the rubrics. It's a great idea, sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, all our participants are so happy, and they got a very clear input, so that they didn't have any further doubt or discussions.
Okay.
Sir, very good morning,
Thank
sir.
you. Good morning, Dr. Shubhasri.
Sir, even though from your perspective, we wanted to know that how we can motivate the slow learners to perform better. Please, sir.
See, that's a wonderful question. There are different aspects of it, but then I would like to tell you the aspect which I used to follow. When you call a slow learner, or when you identify a set of students as slow learners, don't tell them that you are slow learners. In your class, there are 3 categories of students. Some guys are very smart in scoring. No. A slow learner is identified as a slow learner in a particular subject or couple of subjects, or sometimes all the subjects with the curriculum deals with. But he definitely will have some very good qualities which others will not have. When we come to the classroom subjects, for example, if I fail in maths, I'm not a fool. And if somebody is failing in, scoring centum in maths and failing in English, or somebody is scoring vice versa, any subject for that matter. So he has got a better interest in learning that subject for various other reasons. That's why I've told you have to know the child. when you identify somebody as slow learner based on the academic scores, don't tell him you are a fool, you are a slow learner, I'll teach you. Try to identify what are his core interests, in what he is maybe a good painter or a singer or a dancer. He may be a good driver, a swimmer, a sculptor. So try to identify some of those skills of those children, call them and tell them, see, I have gone through deeply into you and I understood that you are a very good cartoonist. You paint very well, you sing very well, you are a good actor. So try to boost him on his positives and tell him, see, it's all fine, we'll support you to grow that, but then we are spending 4 years and so much of money to get a degree. You have scored very good in this subject. If you put little more attention into this subject, you will pass, and I'll help you for that. I'll give you different techniques for you to learn. And for any slow learner, you want to teach the slow learner seriously, what you have to do first is, you should not tell the slow learner to learn all the portions. There are 5 subjects, 5 courses. Don't tell him you learn everything from this. You have to make a blueprint for him and ensure that he scores 60%. Then definitely he'll score at least 50. So 40% of the portion or 30% of the portion straight away you are slashing down for him. Then give him a blueprint and support him personally. So supporting can be in 2 ways. One, a teacher can directly support, or you can implement peer team teaching. You identify the top learners in that particular subject, tell the top learners to teach this guy or monitor this guy in his learning styles. So that would be the best way to, and we have done this, experimented this in our place, and we have seen the results going very high. So we call it as GLM here, group learning method. So this would work. So don't identify him as a slow learner, or in Tamil we call it as makkar. So you don't tell him you are a fool, you are a makkar. You are got lot of capabilities, and having those capabilities, why don't you look at? So this especially happens in visual communication department for me. Guys are very creative, but we feel they are fools. He become a cinema director tomorrow, he become an actor. Why should an actor know quantitative techniques in mathematics? Why should he? So let him pass quantitative techniques or any such intricate subjects which he is not interested. Give him a blueprint and support him in this, in his quality of becoming a director. So this is how I have been trying to practice in my place. I think I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Sir,
sir.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, actually, one of our participants
really
posted. Sir, please, sir.
Yeah, please.
One of our participants
Sir.
posted a question on chat box. Sir, could you please tell us the technique that you use to draw the attention of students in the virtual classroom, as a virtual classroom is like a monologue?
Yeah, fine. So virtual classroom, I think virtual classroom is having a lot of possibilities. That this is what we have been trying to create content during content creation. See, it is not necessary that you have to sit like this and show up your face in a virtual classroom. That's what, when your content creation, you need to appear only twice, initial 5 minutes, last 5 minutes to consolidate. Between that, using your subject, you have a lot of YouTube videos available prepared by a lot of people. Play that video, give your voiceover. There'll be cartoons coming up, there'll be animations coming up. This is what we are doing. So we have created contents like that, and many students say very good comments about that. So first 10 minutes there'll be some you can have a flow chart, then some cartoons. There should be a movie clipping. It can be a commercial movie, or you can create a movie for your subject. So all these things are ready-made, available, and if you use Edmodo, you can edit all those things. In using your computer, you can create the content, edit it, make it as a movie. You can very well edit it using Edmodo. So this is how you make your content interesting. Definitely in the physical class, what kind of a view we can have, we may not be, but then we can catch up the student, because every time, every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the delivery system changes. The content goes on a continuous flow, but then the style of delivery changes. So depending upon the context, you can play a 30-second song from an old movie. It's all possible. A lot of things. That's what I was talking about, the creativity of the teacher. The more you become creative, the student also learns from you that, okay, we can also do things like this. It is not a monotonous class of continuous deliberation. It can be a lot of things like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We agree with you, sir. Dear participants, any more discussions? Any more questions? Thank you. Nitya, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I
It
have
was
one
a very
question.
excellent session, sir.
I have one question,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I have a query that I am Dr. Srikanta Puria, Assistant Professor of Zoology from Calcutta.
Yeah.
Sir, there are many techniques of ICT of this type of the virtual learning, but what is the fate of that type of the technique? Because the a significant percentage of students, they are living in the very rural area, and if there is rainfall in 1 or 2 hours, there is no connection. That is very much difficult for us for conducting the online examination and also class. If there are 30 students, not more than 10 they are able to join, and there an internet connection, that is also expensive. So how long it is possible? The technique is very much good. We can contact very good teacher from out of the country also, but how it is possible? For my experience, when I am taking classes, there are 30 students, 2 or 3 they are attentive, all are joined, but they are not present. And they are not attentively taking class, because UGC also told that open book system. They open the net, they copy paste the answer. So what is the fate of the higher education? The technique is good, but what will be the fate?
It's a very alarming question. I thank you for the question. First of all, you are from Calcutta. My greetings to you and your colleagues. This question can be addressed in 2 ways. See, now we look at this question, somebody else.
It was suggested by the bird. So he was praising the bird. He was telling that he gave her very strong.
Sir, please, sir, could you unmute, please, sir?
So you are muted, sir.
Yeah, fine.
Please, please.
Okay, so this question should be looked at a perspective, from a different perspective, that now we are talking about this from the pandemic perspective, where internet connectivity is a problem. That's what I've told you in the beginning. We'll change another 5 to 10 years. India will have a very different infrastructure for this kind of a learning. All remote parts of this country, not only Calcutta, many parts in our place also, we have this issue, heavy rainfalls or many things. It can be disturbed. So there will be an infrastructure facilitation from the country for the entire learning community to use that. That's one thing. The other thing, the technology is always a facilitator. You have the syllabus content, you can use the same method. These can be like value additions. Those students who are able to take the challenge, it is for them to take if others are not able to. If you are not able to, also you have a teacher, you can have the regular mode of teaching. But this current scenario of COVID, this will change, then the classes will come back to normal. But now for this technology, certain places the technology or the bandwidth is not sufficient, that you have to think to your local body and find a solution, or you have to we all have this recording facility. Whether the students are able to live listen to it or not, you record it and send to the students. When connectivity is there, when the internet is available, the recorded version of the classes you send to them, they'll be able to see. But if there is 5% of the population not able to get the technology in the right way, that the individual local administrative bodies have to address that problem. A teacher may not be able to address. Anyway, the recorded version will be available with you. You somehow send the recorded version to them. If it is not possible to send by mail for 1 or 2 or 5 students, it can be, you can record it and transfer that into a pen drive and it can be handed over. So that way it is possible. But then this is not a constant or a permanent situation we are going to face. Maybe another 1 year max, the situation will change, things will come back to normal. At this
Sir, again you are muted.
I think this muting is happening from your side, not from my side.
Yes,
Somebody
sir,
else's.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't touch on that. I just okay. So the technology will keep growing. Whether you are able to use the technology is a different question altogether. Technology will continuously use. It is just like we have Maruti car. Maruti car can go to a maximum extent of innovation to this level. At the same time, there will be different cars. There will be Benz or there will be Jaguar. There will be many other cars. Those who want to use Benz car, they'll go for that. It's a value addition. Otherwise, the main thing, the mode of transport is always there. Same way, the content, the syllabus is prescribed. There is a teacher. So that delivery mode will happen. But whoever is using better delivery modes, let them use. Definitely the infrastructure of this country will change. That's for sure.
True, sir.
Taking into consideration of all people in this country.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.